Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the 143. We are coming at you live with episode 100. We've hit triple digits.
That is pretty crazy. Basically, we're pretty close to
About a month away.
2 straight years of recording.
Every week.
Did not
Weekly.
take a single week off, rain
Nor
or
will
shine, whether we were together or in separate places. We have brought content every single week.
This will be the last one together for a few weeks as we go our separate ways for the winter break. But that does not mean that we will stop recording. There will be
absolutely
episodes
not.
every week. And let's get on with it. It was a nice, crazy week in the NFL.
Good week.
Lots of action happening. Lots of good games. More QBs going down with injuries because that's just been fantastic for us this season. But we're going to start us off with the stat of the week, brought to you by Andrews Logistics. Monday night had 2 games, both of which did not look to be very good.
But turned out pretty
Turned
great.
out to be very close. Pretty much last-minute wins in both of those games. But I want to talk about the Titans-Dolphins game. Dolphins came in as 14-point favorites to win on Monday Night Football against the Tennessee Titans. And coming into the game, but 3 minutes left in the game, they were up 14 against the Titans. And previous to that, there had been 642 straight games where the team leading by 14 points in the final 3 minutes won the game. But we broke the streak last night with the Titans making a 14-point comeback with 3 minutes left in the game to win the game by 1.
That was also an interesting game because I was looking at highlights again and I realized that all of the points, or like at least half of the points, came in the last 6 minutes of the fourth quarter. Because with about 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, it was 14-14. And then, the Dolphins go up 2 touchdowns, and then the Titans just go and answer right back. So it was a pretty electric game. It started out pretty slow, pretty sloppy.
It was a sloppy game.
Pretty boring.
All around.
The second half was a lot better.
I mean, I would say just like it came down to who was going to be the least sloppy, and apparently that was the Titans. But you wouldn't think it because the Titans had 3 turnovers, like to put Miami inside like the 10-yard line. Well, one of those turnovers was a pick 6, but they had like 2 muffed punts, or 1 muffed punt and a fumble, or something. Yeah, there was a muffed punt, a fumble. They put them in the red zone both times. Dolphins scored touchdowns off both of those.
And also, the very first score that the Dolphins got was a pick 6 on a screen pass to one of the Dolphins' defensive linemen.
On like the 1-yard line, just
So
caught it
you're
and
like,
put it
okay,
in.
that's how this game's going to go. It's just going to be a slop fest, and the Dolphins are going to annihilate the Titans. And we were wrong. I was wrong.
We were wrong, and we were honestly at that point after that play was like, man, this game is going to be.
And
We had to watch it, and it honestly turned out to be great.
prior to that game, there were 2 teams undefeated at home, the Dolphins and the Cowboys. Well, and then there was one.
Just one.
The Cowboys are the only
And
undefeated team at home.
We only have one more home game, so hopefully we don't lose that one or any of them for the rest of the season, which we'll talk about here in a second.
Your player of the week had to do it, Brandon Aubrey.
The man himself.
I mean, he put on an absolute clinic. Okay, 4 for 4 on field goals, 3 for 3 on extra points. So if you do the math, he scored 15 points by himself, which was 2 more than the entire Eagles did. Also, the Eagles did not score a single offensive touchdown.
Nope. First time
week.
since 2019 they did not score an offensive touchdown in a game. Which that was also up there for stat of the week. And, I mean, our defense shut them down, exposed. Jalen Hurts got exposed yet again right after he played the Niners, who did the same thing to him. And it's just shown that when he goes up against elite defenses, he gets exposed because the Jets did the same thing to him for their other loss as well.
Yep. Brandon Aubrey, he's just a cool story, too. A year ago, he's sitting behind a computer coding or whatever. Then he gets the nod to the USFL, and then he finds himself as the kicker for the Dallas Cowboys, and he is also perfect on field goals this season. So that's a pretty sick stat. Didn't play any type of football in college or after that, so
Yeah.
he's
a great story.
He played soccer and then once he finished soccer, he said, "Hey, how about I kick some footballs?" And turns out he's a beast at it.
Yeah, he hasn't missed this season or in his career, which is this season, and hopefully, I mean, he's been the guy that we can turn to when we need points, and
Also a 60 and a 59 yarder.
back to back.
That's pretty impressive. And the other thing too is they were good by an exceptional amount. Like the way he was kicking it, it's like, dang,
They were right down the middle
He could
every
nuke
time.
it from 65 or maybe even like 70.
Well, he made it in between the goalposts on a kickoff.
That's right. He hit the crossbar twice.
Yeah, which is basically like
little
a
doinker.
70-something yarder. So it was awesome to see him do that, and hopefully he continues to do that because we'll be needing him here. We have a tough stretch of games. Let's talk about the Eagles game. That was a game that we've been looking forward to all season, the game at home that we get the Philadelphia Eagles. And, I mean, everyone pretty much assumed that game this late in the season would be division title kind of a game.
Right.
And Cowboys put it on them 33-13. The only touchdown the Eagles scored was because Dak kind of loosely handled the ball, and it was scoop and score.
Scoop and score for a tutty.
But, I mean, we were already up by a lot at that point. So, I mean, we handled business. Everybody came out to play. Everyone did really good. Defense, offense. Stephon Gilmore, he could have also been player of the week. He was phenomenal. He had 9 tackles and a forced fumble on A.J. Brown, which that's hard to do because A.J. is a big dude. So he locked everyone down that he was guarding. But Dak came out, played MVP caliber football. And, I mean, if anything, we already knew the Cowboys were rolling. We knew we were good at home. Nothing surprising there. This just shows the world that Jalen Hurts isn't as good as everyone says.
I mean, it was huge. The Cowboys defense just played a huge role because you think about the 3 fumbles that we forced was when they were driving down the field. And then it's after these big plays that we come in, force a fumble, and they turn it over and get no points. And so that's
we pretty much got points off of most of those, if not
Yeah.
all of those turnovers. So, yeah, great job by the defense. Great job by the offense to go out and get points on those.
Dak once again having another MVP caliber performance.
Right now it's
against
between
a good
him and Brock
defense.
Purdy. And they're both playing out of their minds right now. I don't know who would be the one to win it, but the Cowboys just went out and showed everyone what they're capable of. Now, mathematically, because of our one loss to Arizona, we have a worse conference record than the Eagles. So the Eagles aren't winning the division right now, but if the Eagles don't lose a game for the rest of the season, which they have a very easy schedule for the rest of the season, they will still win the division, regardless of what we do.
Right.
So we need the Eagles to drop another game, and we would need to win out.
I mean,
so it's not
unfortunately
finished.
for us, they play the Giants twice, but Tommy DeVito's getting hot. So
Put on a clinic against
I mean,
an ascending Packers team last night.
maybe sneak out a W there. I mean, I'm not really looking forward to that, but we'll see. But he did get the job done when it was needed yesterday. Put together a nice drive to get them into field goal range and put the Packers away with a walk-off game-winning field goal.
Hey, the Giants were 1-5 with Daniel Jones as their starting quarterback this season, 3-1 with Tommy DeVito. So it's looking like a little bit different of a Giants team, and obviously we got DeVito in his first game as a starter, and we crushed him. But recently, against some not as good teams as us, he's been doing really well, and hopefully, man, dude, you play a team like the Eagles like twice in 3 weeks, surely you could win one of those games.
That's why it's like, be cheeky the first time. Try some stuff like some trick plays or something. You know, figure out what they like to do, their tendencies. Figure out what works for you best against them, and then that second time you play them, you got to pound them.
Hey, Brian Daboll and his squad, they want to be the spoilers. They don't have anything to play for the rest of the season. They've pretty much been eliminated from playoff contention, but I mean, they could still be the spoiler. They have not mathematically been eliminated, but they're not going to make the playoffs.
They're not going to, no.
If they do, that would be crazy. But you never know. This season has been, in the NFC, it's been so tight. It's very exciting. Then you look at the AFC, and it's in shambles. The Ravens are looking to be the runaway favorites to win that conference. The Dolphins, they're not going anywhere. But after that, no one knows what's going on with Kansas City right now. Tight one against the Bills. Very controversial ending to the game. Controversial to the Chiefs, of course, not to the rest of the world. They're down 3 points. Minute left in the game. 2nd and 10 from the 50-yard line. Mahomes throws 25-yard ball to Kelsey, who then turns around, throws a perfect spiral lateral to Kadarius Toney, who runs 25 more yards for a touchdown. Great, one of the greatest plays of all time that we've ever seen in a clutch moment. But then he gets called back because Kadarius Toney was originally lined up offsides. And Chiefs fans and Patrick Mahomes had some stuff to say after the game about it. But, I mean, you can say whatever you want. It was an offsides. It was pretty clear. And that's against the rules. So they ended up losing the game by 3.
That is 100% on Kadarius Toney. And Patrick Mahomes just wants, he's like, oh, since it was a cool play and it wound up us being a touchdown, you can't call that or whatever.
It's like, yeah.
And he was complaining how in the ending minutes of the game, they're throwing game deciding flags, but it's like just because it's inside 3 minutes, 2 minutes, that doesn't mean that penalties are no longer a thing. Like, you still have to call it as it is. And it was a clear offsides, so you have to call that every time.
Chiefs have been going through a rough stretch. They're 8-5 now. A lot of people think they should be better. Mahomes is really frustrated. I think their receiving core is terrible.
And the other thing is as soon as the ball was snapped, they threw the flag. So it's not like they saw, it's a touchdown, let's call it back. It was like, as soon as the ball was snapped, threw a flag, and so the play was dead from the get-go.
Yeah, I think that was a heartbreaking play for the Chiefs, but they've got to get better at their receiving core anyways. They're not going to do anything in the playoffs with what they've got right now. It's just they've got to get better. And Mahomes is doing everything he can, but, I mean, you got to have guys that can catch the ball other than your tight end.
You need a true wide receiver one.
You can't win games with just a tight
Rashee
end.
Rice has been looking pretty good for them this year, but he's a rookie. He's had some mistakes. He's
more of a slot guy.
He had a fumble towards the end of that game that was kind of huge in the downfall of the Chiefs. But, yeah, they need a true wide receiver one.
Yep, heartbreaker for the Chiefs. They fall to 8-5. Bills.
Which I will say, that division could possibly be heating up because the Denver Broncos moved to 7-6 over the Chargers this week. A lot of people were counting them out just because they started so bad. I mean, obviously at the beginning of the season, you have them giving up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins, and their offense just struggling. Russ not playing like the Seattle Seahawks Russ, like all the Denver Broncos the entire fan base wanted. But they have been really locking it in these past few weeks.
They are one game away from having the division. Kansas City's got a 1-game lead. That will be a close one to watch. Towards the end of the season, they played the Chargers, and we lost Justin Herbert out for the season with a broken finger, having surgery on it.
Yep.
He's done. So that is now, I think, 10 AFC starting quarterbacks that are down and out. 11, actually. C.J. Stroud also got hurt. So the AFC has just been – and guess who's on all the primetime games?
All the AFC teams.
And they all are on backup quarterbacks. Speaking of, this Thursday night – it'll be the Chargers and Raiders, who will now both be on their backup quarterbacks. So we're all pumped for that one. These Thursday night games are just too much fun.
They're awful. I mean, they need to figure out these primetime games. Just flexing it has been... They haven't even done that.
They did it for next week's Monday night game, but, I mean, we need the Thursday night games to be flexed. And we've been saying this is the theme of the season. The primetime games have been abysmal, and it seems like a lot of the good games happen at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
You got to move the 12 o'clock games from regional coverage to national coverage to flex them into those primetime games. That's what primetime is for, And so it's like now at this point, it's like, oh, we got lucky with 2 good games last night. When you come into a primetime game, it should be a good game. It should be 2 good teams. It shouldn't be like we're expecting it to be a terrible game, and then it becomes a good game because the Dolphins are just terrible.
What I was going to say is that shouldn't have been a close game.
Yeah.
That should have been a blowout in favor of the Dolphins.
And it also should have been a Packers win last night, and the Giants.
After they took it to the Chiefs, you were kind of expecting the Packers to maybe kind of run away with it.
So just, again, every week. Figure out the primetime games, guys. It's not that hard. I mean, if you want to hire us to do it, we will gladly do it for
we will
you.
gladly make the schedule.
Like, it's not hard to just be like, oh, that's going to be a good game. Throw that on there.
Yeah.
So, a really good 12 o'clock game that nobody got to see because it wasn't on primetime was the Rams and the Ravens, which ended in a punt return for the Ravens for a touchdown in overtime. Ravens winning against the Rams. Ravens, they've been hot. They've looked really good.
They're probably going to win the AFC. They'll definitely win their division. There's really no contention there.
No, they are playing a bunch of backup quarterbacks in their division.
So they will lock up the number 1 seed. And then 2 more divisions that are getting tight is obviously the NFC South. The most interesting division.
Because they're all so bad.
In the entire league. Unfortunately, the Panthers are mathematically eliminated because they have 1 win this entire season. And then the Buccaneers beat the Falcons. They both
That was a
moved
close game.
to 6-7. The Saints beat the Panthers, moving to 6-7. So you got 3
6 and
teams
7 teams.
at 6-7. And then also the
I couldn't even
AFC
tell you. I couldn't tell you who's going to take it.
The AFC South. It's like whenever the Jags lose, the Colts or the Texans can't take advantage of that because all 3 of those teams lost this week. The Texans lost to the Jets, which was pretty abysmal.
It was. Zach Wilson back at the helm had over 300 passing yards.
And they all came in like halfway through the third quarter.
I'm not even sure. I don't even think CJ Stroud had 100.
No.
And he got hurt, but it was like 3 minutes left in the game.
Unfortunately,
it was a terrible game for the Texans.
Unfortunately for the Texans, their star players dropping like flies. They lost Tank Dell for the season. They haven't had Dalton Schultz these last couple weeks.
They lost Nico Collins.
They lost Nico Collins. They lost CJ Stroud. Those are your 4 main guys.
The good thing from the Texans this season, this will not be a season that they will do anything, even if they make it into the playoffs. But the good thing from the Texans is now you know that your franchise is not dead.
They know they have the firepower and the tools
got the guys
to be a good franchise.
Nico, CJ, and Tank, they're all rookies.
Obviously,
and they
just got to stay healthy.
Yeah, so I think they'll be fine. And they'll be exciting as the years roll on. And if anybody ever tries to make it Houston, Dallas, I'm not going to be happy. We've already talked about
quit
that.
It. You know we're wiping the floor with the Texans.
We're also not in the same conference.
We're trying to be happy that you Houston fans finally have a good football team. So stop trying to ruin it.
Also, most Houston fans are Cowboys fans.
Yeah, that is true.
So, but we unfortunately the Colts, they just got torched by Jake Browning. I mean, it's as simple as that. Jake Browning came out on a tear.
I mean, he's just a winner.
He is a winner.
Straight out of the womb.
We saw him on primetime.
He just woke up and won. Like, he's been a winner his entire life.
I would like to call him the primetime savior. He saved the Monday night game that we thought was going to be absolute garbage. And he came out and, I mean, they blew the Colts up 31-14, I believe. And Jake Browning looks pretty good. I mean, Joe Burrow's been hurt, but he looks better than Joe was this season.
I mean, for sure. That offense has been very lackluster this season, which doesn't make sense because their top 3 receivers, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. I mean, you should be lighting up everybody by 30-plus points every week, but they just haven't been in sync. But then Jake Browning comes in, struggles that first week he's in, but then finds his rhythm, finds his groove against Jacksonville, and then continues to play at an extremely high level against the Colts this week.
Yeah, I think the Bengals, if they do sneak into the playoffs, they're a team to watch out for because they've got a decent defense.
That's what I was going to say. They moved to 7-6, so
they're third in their division.
They're not out of it yet. Obviously,
they might be fourth.
They would have to sneak in as a bottom-tier wild card team.
The Steelers look like they're on a... I mean, they're going downward. They lost 2 to teams that have only won 3 games, 2 straight. And so the Steelers are 7-6, but you can just tell that they're because they don't even have a quarterback anymore. So I think the at least the Bengals will jump them. And then the Browns right now are looking good.
Joe Flacco looking like he was like 10 years ago when he was a Raven.
Primetime Joe.
And competed in playoffs.
I did see something that Joe is on the practice squad again, so I don't know what's going on there. In Cleveland.
He was absolutely zinging it on
He looks great.
on Sunday.
He looks great.
Threw 3 touchdown
He's helping.
passes.
He's going to get a contract at the end of the season.
Oh, absolutely.
For a backup job, but they took the win over the Jags, who Trevor Lawrence played even though he acted like he broke his leg on Monday Night Football the other week. He was fine. He just sprained it. So he played, and they're probably wishing he didn't because they lost. He threw 3 picks.
Threw 3 touchdown passes, but also on the other side threw 3 interceptions, so that is not good.
So the Jags dropped a game, but it didn't matter because the Colts and Texans both lost big against their opponents.
Another tight game, but it was the most boring thing on the planet, was the Vikings-Raiders.
Yeah, whopping. It was 3-0 Vikings.
Yep.
3-0.
The Vikings kicked a field goal to go ahead by 3 with a minute 57 remaining in the game, and that would be the decider. And so it was just boring up until that point. It was just punt, and then finally somehow
A field goal.
somebody makes a field goal.
Yeah, and we get to see that Raiders offense that scored 0 points on Thursday night against the Chargers, who scored 7 points and 6 points the week before. So just really giving us some excitement on Thursday
Just
night.
give whoever's making these primetime games a round of applause.
It could be a game that ends in a tie, 0-0.
That is an actual possibility.
And that would just be something else. But Vikings get the win. The Vikings could somehow steal a playoff spot and be the worst team that's ever made the playoffs.
They'll get
ever.
blown out, whoever they end up playing in the first round, but
Maybe us.
hope so.
That would be nice. And then Niners took care of business. Not much to say there. Seahawks were on their backup quarterback, but the Niners obliterated the Seahawks.
No one was expecting Seattle to really do anything.
Niners are hot, and Niners are looking like
They're
best
definitely
team in
the team
NFC.
to beat in the NFC.
They're looking like the best team right now. I'm sorry to the Cowboys, but we did get killed by them.
The playoffs are going to go through San Fran.
It's going to be San Francisco. And honestly, I'd prefer that just because Eagles fans, they get it in their head when they're like the number 1 seed. So,
Yeah, very true.
I mean, there's no one more deserving right now of the conference title, like the conference number 1 seed, than the Niners.
Because
They're killing good
they
teams.
blew out us, and then they blew out the Eagles
So there's-
last week. So
there's no debating
They're
there.
clear-cut number ones.
Now, if something happens, because they do play the Ravens here in a couple weeks. If they played the Raiders, they kill them. If they play the Ravens in a couple weeks. A lot of people are saying that's a Super Bowl matchup. In my opinion, the Cowboys are going to be in the Super Bowl. So, but that'll be a good matchup. They could take the loss, probably not, but you never know what could happen. These next 4 weeks are going to be something else in the NFL. They're going to be something else.
Yep, obviously really want to take the NFC East, but that's just not looking like an option.
If we could get
because
a home playoff game,
we're ramping up. We got a pretty tough last stretch of games. The Eagles have an easier stretch of games. Mm-hmm. I think they have the easiest schedule
They do.
anyone remaining. You know, we still got to go through the Bills, the Dolphins.
both on the road.
Yep, both on the road. We do get to play the Lions at home, and then we end in Washington against the Commanders.
Which that would be the
Which
one we lose.
the Lions have been on a little bit of a downslope recently. You know, they've been dropping some games. They lost to the Bears.
Yeah, they Justin Fields, they let him light him up, which he doesn't normally do to people. So Lions defense is looking atrocious, and
Yep.
Jared Goff is not looking great anymore. So the Lions have a lot of stuff to figure out, but luckily they're not in a great division either. So they should be okay to win their division and host a playoff game in Detroit. So
Where they might get upset by
Matthew
a
Stafford.
bottom tier wild card team, which that would be an interesting
That would
one
be cool.
to watch.
That would be sick.
Because, you know, that was the one thing Matthew Stafford wanted to always do for Detroit, but was never able to, was bring him a title, and then he just goes up there into the Motor City and just destroys all of their hopes and dreams.
I would love to see that. Crazy week in the NFL. It's setting up to be a nice, interesting 4 weeks.
End of the season.
And
Yep.
we're here for all of it. So the biggest thing to take away from this week, Cowboys get the division, but we still need a couple more things to happen to actually claim the division. So we're still rooting hard for every team that plays the
Really
Eagles
need the
as
Eagles
usual.
to drop a game.
I'm a big Seahawks and Giants fan right now, and I don't remember the other team they have to play, but
I
they
want
weren't
to
very
say
hard.
Arizona.
Oh, it is Arizona.
Hey,
Wow.
they're sneaky. Okay,
Yeah.
we learned that the hard way.
We did. Let's hope that they lose one of these games they're not supposed to lose, but we'll see.
Absolutely. I've said it off air, dude. Tommy DeVito has the opportunity to be the MVP of Dallas.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't got to win both.
Just one.
Just one.
And if we can't capitalize on that, then that's on us. So
That's absolutely on us. So please do something for
please,
the boys
Tommy.
down
I'm a
here
huge
in Dallas.
DeVito fan.
Yep, absolutely. So here's like to end our shows in under review. I have brought to you a quote from the Ray Lewis. No matter the circumstances that you may be going through, just push through it.
Amen. Gotta listen to Ray and take that with you this week. Thank you for listening to episode 100 of Under Review. And
Trip digits, baby.
we'll see y'all next week, and we'll keep y'all updated as the NFC and AFC playoff push rolls on. Thank y'all for tuning in.